What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video, I have another deck profile for you guys, but this one is one you would least expect. I do want to point out that this deck is still in the testing stage, so I'm still trying to figure things out with this deck, but it is done. This is only the prototype, but I want you guys to comment below your thoughts on the deck and what I should add, what I should take out, because I've never worked with this deck before, but the deck is called, but the deck is lightsworn. So there's the deck. Yes, it does have a side deck, but I decided, I couldn't show, I'll show off the side deck a little bit later on in the video. But what's cool about this variant is that I wouldn't consider it I wouldn't consider this deck to be a brick deck. I think the only brick in the deck would probably have to be Wolf, which obviously nobody wants to see Wolf in their hand. But other than that, it's a pretty cool deck. It's more so of a more so of a control style, more of like a control beatdown style deck. Again, it's still in the testing stages, so let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the deck and what should be taken out, what should be added in. But let's get into the deck profile. And obviously, as you guys just saw, I am running 3 copies of Judgement Dragon. This is a very unique card because it says cannot be normal summon or set. Must be special summon from your hand by having 4 or more lightsworn monsters with different names in your graveyard. You can pay 1,000 life points to destroy all of the cards on the field. Once per turn during your end phase, send the top 4 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So obviously, to summon it, you have to have the cost of having at least 4 lightsworns in your graveyard, which obviously is not that difficult, because obviously with this deck you're milling cards from your deck, from the top of your deck to your graveyard, and if there are lightsworn monsters, you can just easily summon Judgement Dragon like right off the bat. And then of course too, it has an effect similar to Chaos Emperor Dragon, but instead of sending cards to the grave and dealing damage, you're just sending the cards to the graveyard, and then also too you can send, and then during your end phase you have to send the top 4 cards of your deck to your graveyard. So you could literally send, any card any of the lightsworn cards can easily be triggered. So yeah, so it's not too crazy, and plus too, it's a really excellent rank 8 target, which there is only one rank 8 Xyz monster in the deck, but I'll showcase to you guys what that is a little later on. Next up, I have one Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. This is one of those cards where if you have a light where you have a light and a dark, you could just banish them, summon this to the field, and you could just banish a card that you can target one card on the field and banish it, and it doesn't matter. And it doesn't really matter whether it's on your side or your opponent's side. And the downside to it is that this card can't attack on the turn that effect was activated. And then of course too, if it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, it can make a second attack during the battle phase, which is really good. So it has an effect similar to Cyber Twin Dragon, where it can attack twice in a turn. Again, it's another excellent rank 8 target. Nothing really too crazy about that. But now we go into the Lightsworns. So first up, we have 3 Wolf Lightsworn Beasts. So again, this is the only brick of the deck. So it cannot be normal summon or set. It has to be summoned by a card effect. And if it was sent from the deck to the graveyard, you special summon it. So this deck the lightsworns are kind of similar to the Dark World deck, where with Dark World it activates with their effects they activate when they're in the graveyard. When they're sent from the hand to the graveyard. With lightsworns, their effects are activated when they're sent from the deck to the graveyard, and Wolf becomes a sort of like a beige vanguard of Dark World, where it can just easily be special summon from the graveyard. And again, these are all excellent targets for like synchros, for links and whatnot. And again, this card is a definite must a three of, hands down. But it can easily be a break if you open this card. It's just dead in the hand. So that's one thing that you always have to avoid. Next up, we have one copy of Gareth, Lightsworn Warrior. This card is kind of interesting because it says here, each time a card is sent from your deck to the grave by the effect of a Lightsworn monster you control, except this card, send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, and then draw 1 card for each Lightsworn sent to the grave by this effect. So if 3 Lightsworn cards were sent if both cards were Lightsworn monsters, if they were both sent to the graveyard, it's a +2. You get it's basically a pot of greed. You draw 2 cards and you're good. A lot of people have made a mistake, and I've seen several different decks, incorporating this card. A lot of people have made the mistake of running like 3 or 2. In my honest opinion, that's the wrong way to go. I would see this again only as a one of, just because you already have a bunch of other draw cards. I think with Solar Recharge, with cards like Solar Recharge and and so many other cards, and you're also. And also with Charge of the Light Brigade, which is obviously a rota for the deck. So definitely one of Gareth's best way to go. Next up, we have 3 copies of Raiden, Hand of the Lightsworn. This is a really cool card because it says here, during your main phase, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Then if any Lightsworn monster were sent to the grave by this effect, this card gains 200 attack points, 200 attack for each until the end of your opponent's turn. So it goes from 17 to 1900, which is a really good beater, excellent beater. You can only use this effect once per turn. Once per turn during your end phase, send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave. So a lot of these Lightsworn cards, a lot of these cards, you're sending cards from your deck to the graveyard. So it's more of a mill control, like beatdown style type of deck. So you definitely want to take advantage of that because you could just because this deck is basically the opposite of a Dark World deck where you can just spam your board with a bunch of monsters, go into your synchro plays, your Xyz plays and whatnot, and just beat down your opponent for game. So definitely 3 copies of Raiden is the best way to go. Next up, we have 1 copy of, I think is Lila? Yeah, Lila, Lightsworn Sorceress. And this is a really cool, and this is another one, and this is another one of those cards where it's, excuse me, where it focuses more so on the back row. And so basically, so this card says, you can target 1 spell or trap your opponent controls. This card's battle position cannot be changed until the end of your next turn. Also, change this card you control from face up attack to face up defense, and if you do, destroy that target. So it's basically a MST type of deal, so to speak. So basically, if I guess kind of like a, I don't know. I don't know what I would compare it to, but basically, again, you get to target one of your opponent's back row. This card cannot change its battle mode. It cannot change its position until the end of your next turn. So when that happens, I think when that happens, you can change it from face up attack to face up defense, and when you do, the card in question gets destroyed. And then once per turn, you have to again you're milling cards from your deck to the graveyard. So it's excellent back row removal. It's another one of those cards where it's good, but you're mainly using it for like a synchro play or more so of an Xyz play. So yeah. Next up, and then next up we have 3 copies of Felice Lightsworn Archer. So this card has an effect similar to Wolf, where if it's sent from the deck to the graveyard by a monster effect, you can special summon this card, and then you can tribute this card. You can tribute this card, target a monster your opponent controls, and destroy it. That it's that simple. So it's a self monster reborn. It's a monster removal, but you're also sending the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Again, I've never worked with Lightsworns before, so I'm just giving you guys my thoughts on how this deck would operate if I were to play this. If I were to play this, this was something that I just like randomly put together. So obviously you guys can help me out with this with the deck as well. So yeah. 3 copies of Felice. Next up, we have 2 copies of Minerva Lightsworn Maiden. This is probably by far one of the weirdest cards you could ever play in the deck, because the effect says when this card is normal summon, you can add 1 light dragon monster from your deck to your hand, whose level is less than or equal to the number of Lightsworn monsters with different names in your graveyard. So obviously you're gonna want to target Judgement Dragon. That's the only dragon you have in the deck. So obviously that's the one you're gonna target. So it's more so of a Rhoda. If this card is sent from the hand or deck to the grave, send the top card of your deck to the grave. It's that simple. During each of your end phases, send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Wow. So again, all these cards, you're sending cards from your deck to your graveyard, getting off their effects and whatnot. So yeah. Next up we have Lumina Lightsworn Summoner. So what's cool about Lumina is that her effect says once per turn you can discard 1 card and target a level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster in your graveyard. Special summon the target. Hold on, there we go. Special summon the target once per turn during your end phase. Send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. So basically, you rip a card from your own hand to your graveyard. You target a level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster in your grave. Summon it from the graveyard. So it's a monster reborn right off the bat. So that is just really good. Next up, we have 2 copies of Lumina Twilight Sworn Shaman. This is one of the obviously because that you're running Blacklist to Soldier, you gotta have a few darks in the graveyard. So once per turn, you can banish a Lightsworn monster from your hand or grave, then target one of your banished Lightsworn monsters except Twilight Sworn Shaman, special summon it. So again, it's a monster reborn. So a lot of these cards again are automatic monster reborns. You know, get off their effects, go into your Xyz plays and whatnot, and just beat down your opponent. Once per turn, if your other Lightsworn monster's effect is activated, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. Again, it's the exact same thing. Next up, we have Lila Twilight Sworn Enchantress. So this effect says once per turn, when a spell or trap card or effect is activated as a quick effect, you can banish 1 Lightsworn monster from your hand or grave, then target a face-up spell or trap on the field and destroy it. Again, you're literally popping your opponent's board, their back row, and just going all out. And then once per turn, if your other lightsworn monster's effect is activated, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. So the last thing, so to round up the monsters, we have the performance package. So we have hat trick. So we have the 1 hat tricker, the 1 trick clown, and then of course the 1 damage juggler. I'm not gonna explain; they're self-explanatory. And then last but not least, Diana, the light spirit. So what's cool about Diana is that her effect says cannot be normal summon or set. Must be special summoning brain from your hand by banishing a light monster from your grave. So it has an effect similar to BLS, but a little different. From your graveyard, excuse me. Once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you gain 1,000 points. So essentially, you want to try and force your opponent to just end their turn right off the bat, and then you could just automatically gain the extra points. Use those points, trigger off card effects and whatnot, and just go all out. So that's pretty much that. For the spells, we have 3 copies of Solar Recharge. This is basically the pot of greed, so to speak, where you discard a lightsworn monster from your hand, draw 2 cards, and then send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Not going to say much about it. Then of course we have the 1 instant fusion, mainly because I am running only because of the fact that I'm running invoked Caliga in the extra deck, which I'll talk about that here in a second. The 1 Foolish Burial. So so with this card, you're mainly going to want to send Wolf to your graveyard, get its effect out, special summon it, and then go into a rank 4 play or something like that. Monster Reborn, again, it's just really busted. It's Monster Reborn, you run it and everything. Then I'm running 3 copies of Charge of the Light Brigade, which obviously, again is a Rhoda for the deck. It's a must-have. Then I'm running two copies of Cosmic Cyclone. I may end up taking these out and replacing them with Twin Twister, just because Twin Twister is a lot better than Cosmic Cyclone in my opinion, but still, Cosmic Cyclone is still pretty good, still a pretty decent backward removal, so it's nothing too crazy. Then the only equipped spell I'm running in the deck is Lightsworn Saber. This is probably by far the weirdest card I'm using in the deck, because it says equip only to a Lightsworn monster, it gains 700 attack. So it has an effect similar to Magic Formula, where you equip it to Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl and it gains 700. And then what's cool about this is that it's different from Magic Formula, because it says when this card is sent from the deck to the graveyard, you can target a Lightsworn monster you control and equip this card to that target. So it's essentially like a so with this card, it's like a Dragoonity type of deal, where you could just randomly equip it to one of your cards. So it's pretty good. And then I'm running one of the weirdest. And then the next card I'm about to reveal, it's weird, but you'll understand why. The field spell Ancient Forest. Now the reason why I'm running Ancient Forest is because is because of its effect. It reads as follows: when you activate this card, change any defense position monsters to face up attack position. So any monsters that are in defense mode, defense mode, you change them to attack mode. Flip effects are not activated at this time. If a monster attacks, destroy it at the end of the battle of that turn's battle phase. So it's essentially, if your opponent runs cards like Morphine Jar or whatever, those cards don't activate. Those cards will not activate at all, and that's something that I chose. That's something that I wanted to deal with, was to have the deck deal with those flip effect monsters, and that's why I'm running the 2 copies of Ancient Forest. But there's another reason for it too, and I'll explain why once I get to the extra deck. And then for the trap lineup, the only traps I'm running in the deck are 2 Infinite Impermanents and 1 Lightsworn Barrier. This is a very interesting card, but it's kind of like it's kind of like Mirror Wall in a way, but instead of paying life points, you're sending the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, and you're negating the attack. So I'm not sure if that effect is a once per turn or whatever, but that's pretty much that. So for the extra deck, I am running the one invokes Caliga. So the effect says each player can only attempt to activate one monster effect per turn. Each player can only attack with one monster during each battle phase. So this card has an effect similar to Masked Hero Divine Wind, where your opponent can only attack with one monster per turn. But you're mainly using Instant Fusion. You're mainly using this card for your synchro plays, and even also for your Exceeds plays as well. You're not using it for its effect at all. You're using it to to get out synchro monsters and whatnot, and that is it. For the synchro lineup, we have actually one of the newer ones that was released, I think in Rise of the Duelist. We have Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. This is a really cool card, and it's a tuner non-tuner, so it's pretty generic, so to speak. But its effect says if this card is synchro summon, you can excavate the top 5 cards of your deck, and if you do, you can add 1 excavated light or dark monster to your hand and send the remaining cards to the grave. So again, this ties so well with activating Wolf's effect, where if it's sent to the graveyard from the deck, you summon it, rank 4 plays, done. You're good. You can banish a light and a dark monster from your hand or grave, except this card. Special summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. So if it was sent to the graveyard, if it were to be sent to the graveyard, it has an effect similar to BLS, where you banish a light and a dark, summon it, you're good. You're good. But this has an effect similar to DMOC, where when it leaves the field, it gets banished instead. And you can only use each effect once per turn. So nothing too crazy. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not gonna explain the combos with this card. So yeah. Next up, we have Michael the Arc Lightsworn. I'm not saying anything much about it. It's another one of those. It's another one of those generic monsters where you can easily just banish monsters, shuffle card, recycle your cards, and you're basically gaining life points as well. It's just absolutely busted. And then of course also too, Clearwing Synchro Dragon. I'm not running Crystal Wing, just because I think in my honest opinion, I think Crystal Wing is a lot more dead, I'd say, than Clearwing. So that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion anyway. And the reason why I'm running the field spell Ancient Force is because I'm running 2 copies of Ancient Pixie Dragon, not Fairy Dragon. Obviously, we know Ancient Fairy Dragon has been banned for a while, but I'm running Ancient Fairy Dragon. Ancient Pixie Dragon. Because it says here, after resolving a field spell that was activated during your turn, draw 1 card. So it's essentially, it's a +1. So if you have Ancient Force in your hand, and this card is on the field, you activate Ancient Force, and if it resolves, not only do you get off the effect of the field spell, but you're also able to draw 1 card right off the bat. And you can only use this effect once per turn. And then once per turn, you can target a face-up attack position monster in the field and destroy it. So again, you're popping your opponent's monsters that have already used up their effects and that are hard once per turn. So more so like Borload and whatnot. So it's really, really good. And then for the last of the synchros, Formula Synchron. And you'll explain, and you'll know why once I get into the Link monster. So for the Exceeds, we have number 107, Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. Self-explanatory, negates effects, none too crazy there. The 1 copy of Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer. Cannot speak. Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer. There we go. What's cool about him is that is that you're shuffling cards back into the deck. So that's like the biggest deal of all. And then of course we have Minerva, the Exalted Lightsworn. This was released as a YCS price card, but then reprinted as part of Battles of Legend Light's Revenge. So it's pretty cool. But self-explanatory. Literally, all these cards are self-explanatory, so I'm not going to explain much about it. And then, of course, also the last of the Xyz, we have Abyss Dweller, an excellent card to stop hand traps in their tracks, which is absolutely nuts. So nothing too crazy there. And then for the links, we have Sword Dragon, Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. We have Curious. The Lightsworn Dominion, and then of course, yeah, Crystron, Halqifibrax. I'm not saying anything about it. And then for the side deck, again, this deck is still in the testing stages. So do let me know in the comments below what you guys think I should take out, and then I'll do an updated profile on it at some point within the next like several weeks or something like that. So yeah, So for the side deck, the side deck is more of a anti-meta type of deal. So I'm running 2 copies of Inspector Border, 2 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 Dark Ruler No More, the 3rd copy of Cosmic Cyclone, 3 Evenly Matched, 3 Breakthrough Skill, which is an interesting card, and then the 2 copies of Goes In Match. So guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Again, let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the deck. What should I take out? What should I put in? I'm very curious. I've never worked with this deck before, so do forgive me on that. But guys, that will do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash the thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel, you guys want to see more deck profiles in the future, definitely hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All the links are down in the description. And if you guys have any fan mail that you would like to send me and want me to open up on the channel, my address will be at the top of the description below as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.